Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. Thank you for turning this podcast on. I hope you will enjoy what I am about to say to you. The first word is broadcast. B-R-O-A-D. I don't even know what I just said. B-R-O-A-D-C-A-S-T. First form, adjective from 1767. 1. Cast or scattered in all directions. Gonna cast out the stuff into the wind, and it's gonna go in a very broad way out there. Next is number 2, made public by means of radio or television. You are casting out your radio or TV, video or audio signal to a wide variety of places and peoples, and that's a broadcast. Number 3, of or relating to radio or television broadcasting. Number 2, second form of broadcast. It is a verb from 1813. First is transitive. 1, to scatter or sow, as seed, over a broad area. 2, to make widely known. I'm going to open up my window and I'm going to broadcast all my feelings out to you people. I guess that's what I'm doing with this podcast. It's a broadcast podcast. I don't know. 3, to transmit or make public by means of radio or television. Now we have the intransitive definitions. 1, to transmit a broadcast. 2, to speak or perform on a broadcast program. Broadcaster is a noun. I've never really thought about where this word comes from. Why do we call it a broadcast? Like a TV show or a radio show? Well, because you're casting it out broadly. Third form of broadcast, it is an adverb from 1814, to or over a broad area. Fourth form of broadcast, noun from 1922. 1, the act of transmitting sound or images by radio or television. 2, a single radio or television program. Next is broad church. 2 words, first letters are capitalized. Adjective from 1853. Of or relating to a liberal party in the Anglican Communion, especially in the later 19th century. Broadchurch is also the name of a TV show that my wife watched. I don't remember if I watched all of it or some of it or something, but I think it was a good show. Next is broadcloth. 1 word, noun from the 15th century. 1, a twilled, napped, woolen, or worsted fabric with smooth, lustrous face and dense texture. There are a lot of fun words in that one. A twilled, napped, woolen, or worsted fabric with smooth, lustrous face and dense texture. 2, a fabric usually of cotton, silk, or rayon, made in plain and rib weaves with soft semi-gloss finish. Broadcloth. Next is broaden, or you probably just say broaden, a verb from 1726. First is transitive, to make broader, and then intransitive, to become broad. Next is broad gauge. I think that sneeze is back. When you sneeze or cough, if you're going to do it into your hands, you should go wash your hands. If you're not going to do it in your hands, which you shouldn't really, you should put your face in your elbow or into something. I see way too many people like cough or sneeze into their hands, and then they don't wash their hands. They just leave it there. Your hands are dirty now. You got to go clean them. Why? Why don't people do this? So I just sneezed into my elbow. I should probably go wash my elbow. But I'll do that later. Okay, next is, where were we? Broad gauge, 2 words with a hyphen. Could also be broad gauged. I don't usually read that part, but I guess I did. This is an adjective from 1858. 1, wide in area or scope, as in a broad gauge effort. 2, comprehensive in outlook, range, or capability, as in a broad gauge statesman. Next is broad jump. Broad jump. 2 words, noun from 1867. Synonym is long jump. Broad jumper is a noun. I remember trying to do the long jump in gym class when it was probably high school, junior high. I don't remember exactly. I don't think I was very good at it. I was never a very sportsy, physical person. But I tried, and I failed. Next is broad-leaved. Broad, and then hyphen leaved. Leaved. This is an adjective from 1552. 1. Having broad leaves, specifically having leaves that are not needles. 2. Composed of broad-leaved plants, as in broad-leaved forests. Next is broadloom, one word, first form, adjective from 1925. Woven on a wide loom, also so woven in solid color. Next is the second form of broadloom, noun from 1926, a broadloom carpet. Next is broad-minded, two words with a hyphen, adjective from 1850. 1. Tolerant of varied views. Yeah. Number 2. Inclined to condone minor departures from conventional behavior. Broad-mindedly is an adverb, and broad-mindedness is a noun. Next is broad scale, one word, adjective from 1939. Broad in extent, range, or effect. Next is broadsheet, one word, noun from 1705. 1. We have the number 1 definition for the word broadside, which is next. Don't worry, we'll get there. Number 2 is chiefly British, a newspaper with pages of a size larger than those of a tabloid. It's a broadsheet. Okay. Now we have the first form of broadside. It is a noun from 1575. 1A1, a sizable sheet of paper printed on one side. 1A2, a sheet printed on one or both sides and folded. 1B, something as a ballad printed on a broadside. So would that be a ballad is printed, like the text of a ballad is printed on a large sheet of paper? Okay. Number 2 is archaic, the side of a ship above the waterline. 3A, all the guns on one side of a ship. Also, their simultaneous discharge. So the side of a ship is the broadside because it's, it's the broadside. It's not the front, which is small, or the back, which is small. It's the big broadside. And then all the guns are the broadside. And then they shoot. And that's the broadside too? Okay, 3B, a volley of abuse or denunciation. Number 4, a broad or unbroken surface. Next is the second form of broadside, adjective from 1646, directed or placed broadside, as in a broadside attack. Third form of broadside, I probably should have mentioned broadside is the last word of the episode. Third form is an adverb from 1870, 1A, with the side forward or toward a given point. Synonym is sideways. Like the broadside of the ship is going towards something. I don't know. Can ships do that? As in turned broadside. Yeah, I guess you can angle the ship in that direction, but I don't think it can go in that direction. That's why they're shaped that way. They're shaped so they can go in that one direction with the broadside on the side. 1B, directly from the side, as in the car was hit broadside. 2, in one volley, Volley, in one volley, okay? Not sure the context of that. There was one in the first form of broadside that had the word volley, a volley of abuse or denunciation. I don't know. And now we have number 3, at random. Broadside means at random. And then finally, the fourth form of broadside, it is a transitive verb from 1981, to hit broadside, as in the car was broadsided. So we had broadcast, broad church, broadcloth, broaden, broad gauge, broad jump, broad-leaved, broadloom. Am I even saying these words correctly? Broad-leaved, yeah. Broadloom, broad-minded, broad scale, broadsheet, broadside. That word sounds incredibly weird now. I am going to pick broad-minded as the word of the episode because I think you just benefit more when you are broad-minded. You can accept a lot more out in the world, and you're not closed-minded. You're broad-minded. See? Okay. That's all I got to say. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. It's a good one today. It's real good. But we are starting with more broad words. If you listen to the last two episodes, that word probably sounds as weird to you as it does to me, especially if you're binging these. So the first word is broad spectrum. Broad hyphen spectrum. Adjective from 1952. Effective against a wide range of organisms. As in, parentheses example is as insects or bacteria. As in, a broad spectrum antibiotic. Next is broadsword. We had broad axe before. Now we've got broadsword. One word, noun from before the 12th century. A large, heavy sword with a broad blade for cutting rather than thrusting. Yeah, the thrusting swords are going to be real skinny and sharp. I mean, the broadswords are probably sharp too, but, they're real small and round, so you can do a lot of quick little stabbing. But a broadsword, it's flatter, I'm guessing. It doesn't say, but I assume it's flatter, and you can swipe and cut. But you probably thrust too. It's still going to do some good damage. All right, next we have broadtail, one word, noun from 1892. Number one, we have the first definition for the word caracul. Karakul. Caracul. I don't know what this word is. Number two, the pelt of a premature or newborn caracul lamb. That's a lamb. Having a flat and wavy appearance resembling moire silk. It's a broadtail. All right. Oh, and then it says compared to the second definition for caracul and also the first definition for Persian lamb. So this must be a kind of lamb in the Persian area of the world. And it's probably really damn cute. Let's find a picture. Broadtail, that's what that one was. Next is Broadway with a capital B, noun from 1835. The New York Commercial Theater and Amusement World. Yeah, it's a whole world. Specifically, playhouses located in the area between the Avenue of the Americas and 9th Avenue and from West 41st Street to West 53rd Street. It's very specific. Thank you. I've only been to New York a couple of times. I don't even know if I was in the Broadway area, but I think it seems really fun. I've never seen a show on Broadway. Maybe someday. Broadway is also an adjective, and Broadwayite is a noun. Is that one who is performing on Broadway? Is it one who goes and sees shows on Broadway? It's a whole world. It's an amusement world. And then this is from Broadway, which is a street in New York City. Next is... Yeah, I told you this was a fun episode. What is this? I probably should have figured out how to say it before. Brobdingnagian. I really think that's it. Brobdingnagian. All right, we're just going to go with that because that's what it looks like. Capital Brobdingnagian. Brobdingnagian. Sounds like a word that I would have made up when I was in junior high. I have made up words that are ridiculous, and I don't know why, and I don't know what they mean. But this is an adjective from 1728, and it means marked by tremendous size. Brobdingnagian is also a noun. So this is from, maybe I should just keep it a secret. No. This is from Brobdingnag, which is an imaginary land of giants in Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. I am aware of the story of Gulliver's Travels, that he finds giants, but he also finds little people. But I think the story of the little people is the one that most people know. That's the one that I know better. And they have a name, and I know the name, and I can't think of the name right now. And I know some of you are like, oh my God, why don't you know the name? And I could probably look it up, but I don't want to do that. It's some weird word. But anyway, Jonathan Swift must have just made these up. I don't think he got them from anywhere. And he thought that the Land of Giants would be funny if it was called Brobdingnag, which is really not easy to say. And then the people who live there are Brobdingnagians, I guess. Or is it Nagians? Brobdingnagian. Maybe that's it. Doesn't matter. Next is brocade. Brocade. It's an arcade where lots of bros hang out. It is a noun from 1588. Number 1, a rich silk fabric with raised patterns in gold and silver. Number 2, a fabric characterized by raised designs. Brocade is also a transitive verb, and brocaded is an adjective. So this is from the Spanish word brocado, which is from the Catalonian word brocat, which is from Italian brocato, which is from the verb brocare, which means to spur, or brocade, which is from the word broco, maybe they say brocho, which is a small nail, from Latin brocus, which means projecting. Lots and lots of different words there. Now we have brokies. Brokies? Or brokis? Brokis area. We'll say that. Capital BROCA apostrophe S, brokas, and then the word area. Noun from circa 1903. A brain center associated with the motor control of speech and usually located in the left side of the frontal lobe. Well, I guess I am using Broca's area as I am reading these words to you. This is from Paul P. Broca, which was a French surgeon who died in 1880. So I hope I never get a lobotomy, because if they take out the left side of the frontal lobe, then I might not be able to speech all that good. I'm just being silly. Okay, next we have brocatelle. 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 Noun from 1669. A stiff decorating fabric with patterns in high relief. This is a French word from Italian brocatello or brocatello, which is a diminutive of brocato, but it doesn't say what that means. Next we have broccoli. Brocoli. Noun from 1699. 1 is chiefly British. A large, hardy cauliflower. 2a, either of two garden vegetable plants closely related to the cabbage. And then we have 2a1, one with a thick central stem and a compact head of dense, usually green florets that is classified with the cauliflower. 2a2, one with slender stems and usually green or purple florets not arranged in a central head. The scientific name for that one is Brassica oleracea italica. And then we have 2b, the stems and immature florets of broccoli used as food. Let's see, this is, it's Italian. The plural is broccolo, which is the flowering top of a cabbage, from the diminutive of broco, or it is a diminutive of broco, which is a small nail or sprout. I know that broccoli itself doesn't really taste all that good. I know a lot of people don't really like it, but, if you cook it up good and you season it, maybe put some butter and salt on it or whatever, some other stuff, it's really, really, really a healthy vegetable that y'all should eat. You got to eat your fruits and vegetables. You need the fiber. You need all the stuff. There's calcium in there and all the good stuff. All right, now we've got broccoli rabe. 2 words. Rabe looks like it's pronounced rabe, but it's not. It's rabe. R-A-B-E. This is a noun from 1938. A garden brassica that is related to the turnip and produces edible, leafy, branching stalks and compact clusters of yellow florets, called also broccoli raab, R-A-A-B. That one looks better to me. And then, also called, in addition to broccoli raab, it's also called rapini, R-A-P-I-N-I. So this is perhaps modified of the Italian broccoli di rapa, which literally means flowering tops of the turnip. Oh, and the scientific name is Brassica rapa ruvo. Also, a good vegetable to eat. Next, we have brochette, B-R-O-C-H-E-T-T-E, noun from the 15th century. We have the synonym skewer. Also, food broiled on a skewer, and that is the end of that sentence. I thought it went on. Brochette. Let's see. This is from French, brochette, from broche, which means pointed tool, and there's more at the word brooch. Now we have brochure, B-R-O-C-H-U-R-E. This is a noun from 1748. Synonyms are pamphlet and booklet, especially one containing descriptive or advertising material. Next is brock, B-R-O-C-K, noun from before the 12th century. It is British, and we have the synonym badger. So I guess they just call badgers brocks, which is interesting. Let's see. The etymologies just says this is from the Welsh word broch, B-R-O-C-H, which means badger. So did we change it from brock to badger here in America? I don't know. Next is brockage, noun from 1879, an imperfectly minted coin. Brockage. This is an English dialect word, brock, or it's from that, which means rubbish. Yeah, cool. Now we have brocket, B-R-O-C-K-E-T. It is a noun from 1837. Any of several small deer of Central and South America with unbranched antlers. So the antlers go out, but they don't have little branches or points. Brocket. So this is from the word brocket, which is a 2-year-old male red deer. From Middle English, brocket from Anglo-French, akin to the Old French broche, which means tine of an antler or pointed tool, and there's more at the word brooch. Okay, if you say so. And then our last word is brogan, B-R-O-G-A-N. This is a noun from 1835. A heavy shoe, especially a coarse work shoe reaching to the ankle. And this is an Italian word from the Italian word brogan, which is a diminutive of brogue, B-R-O-G. So, it's just a heavy shoe. So we had broad spectrum, broadsword, broadtail, Broadway, Brobdingnagian, brocade, Broca's area, brocatel, broccoli, broccoli lob, brochette, brochure, brock, brockage, brocket, and brogan. There were so many good ones in this episode. Let's see, I'm just scanning through because, let's see. Well, I think I have to pick Broca's area as the word of the episode. Because it is a really important part of the brain if you want to control, speech and stuff. And most of us want to do that, I think. So it's very important, and we use it all the time. And that's, I think, all I have to say about that. But there were some really good ones in here, I thought. But some of them I'll put on Instagram. Okay, that's all I got to say today. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. Here we go with some new words. The first word is at the very bottom of page 156 and then goes on to 157 because that's how numbers work. The first word is brogue, B-R-O-G-U-E. It is the first form noun from 1584. 1. A stout, coarse shoe worn formerly in Ireland and the Scottish Highlands. 2. A heavy shoe, often with a hobnailed sole. What's hobnailed? It's got so many nails that it makes you hobbled. Brogan, B-R-O-G-A-N, is a synonym, and that was the last word of the last episode. A coarse work shoe reaching to the ankle. Number 3, a stout Oxford shoe with perforations and usually a wingtip. So this is from Irish, brogue, and Scottish Gaelic, brogue. Of course, they pronounce it much better than me. From Middle Irish, broch, probably from Old Norse broch, which is a leg covering, akin to the Old English broch, which is also a leg covering, and there's more at the word breech, with 2 E's. Now we have the second form of brogue. It is a noun from 1703, a dialect or regional pronunciation, especially an Irish accent. So this is from the Irish word berog, which is an accent or a speech impediment. Interesting. And it literally means wrestling hold or tight grip. Okay, what happened here etymologically? So berog, B-A-R-R-O-G, in Irish means wrestling hold or tight grip. And then somehow it turned into accent or speech impediment, and then that became basically an Irish accent. That's what we think of. That's what we call Irish accents, brogues. What happened there? Moving on to broider, B-R-O-I-D-E-R. This is a verb from the 14th century, and we have the synonym embroider, with an E-M. Broidery is a noun. I've never heard of just broider. I've seen embroider. This is an alternative of the Middle English brouderen, which is modified from Anglo-French broder, and there's more at the word embroider. So I'm curious, which one came first, the broider or the embroider? Next, we have the word broil. First form, verb from the 14th century. Transitive is first. To cook by direct exposure to radiant heat. Synonym is grill. And now we have the intransitive, to be subjected to great or oppressive heat, as in broiling in the sun. This is from Anglo-French brûler, which means to burn or broil, modified of Latin ustulare, which means to singe, and that is from urere, the verb urere, which means to burn. Next is the second form of broil. It is a noun from 1563, the act or state of broiling. Now we have the third form of broil. It is a verb from the 15th century. We have intransitive first. The synonym is brawl. So brawl became broil. And then the transitive definition has the synonym embroil. What is this whole thing about taking off the EM from these words, broider and broil? Let's see, this is from the Anglo-French broiler or broiler, which means to jumble or mix. That's how you get the brawls when you're embroiling and brawling with somebody, you're all mixed up in a jumble. This is of Germanic origin, akin to the Old High German brod, which means broth, like a soup broth, and there's more at the word broth. Very helpful. Now we have the fourth form of broil. It is a noun from 1525, a noisy disturbance, and a synonym is tumult. I've never really seen the word tumult by itself. I see tumultuous, but I guess tumult is its own word. And then especially the synonym brawl, like the last one. As in, a tavern row widens into a general broil. And that is a quote from J.R. Green. Next we have broiler, noun from the 14th century. 1, one that broils. 2, a bird fit for broiling, especially a chicken that is younger and smaller than a roaster. I thought that said toaster at first. I think broiler could also just be it's like a not a pot. I don't know. I'm not a cook, but it's the thing that you put the thing in to broil it. So, it's also the person who's doing the broiling. So there's the broiler who's broiling the broiler in the broiler. Next is broiling, adjective from 1555, extremely hot, as in a broiling sun. Now we have broke. First form. This is the past form of the word break. Now we have the second form of broke, adjective from 1710. Synonym is penniless. And this is alternative of the word broken, which is our next word. Broken, adjective from the 13th century. 1. Violently separated into parts. Synonym is shattered. Number 2. Damaged or altered by breaking, as to A. Having undergone or been subjected to fracture, as in a broken leg. 2B. This is talking about land surfaces, being irregular, interrupted, or full of obstacles. 2C. Violated by transgression, as in a broken promise. You gotta keep your promises, people. What's the problem? 2D. Synonyms are discontinuous and interrupted. 2E. Disrupted by change. 2F. This is talking about a tulip flower, having an irregular, streaked, or blotched pattern, especially from virus infection. What was I just listening to? There was a podcast they were talking about. I think it was the podcast, blanking on the name, Curiosity Daily. It was one of their older episodes because I'm still trying to catch up. But they were talking about a time in some place. It was probably Holland, I think, because that's... I'm probably screwing up the name. Anyway, somewhere in Europe, there was a time where tulips were so sought after for some reason that they were more expensive than a house. And if people had these sort of irregular tulips, that they were very sought after and they were very expensive. And I think that they talked about this virus infection, that they had these crazy colors. So let's see if we can find a picture of that. But yeah, that's it's a broken flower, broken tulip. I don't know. Okay, 3A, made weak or infirm. 3B, subdued completely. Synonyms are crushed and sorrowful, as in a broken heart. Also as in a broken spirit. Now we have 3C, synonym is bankrupt. 3D, reduced in rank. 4A, cut off. Synonym is disconnected. 4B, imperfectly spoken or written, as in broken English. 5. Not complete or full, as in a broken bale of hay. 6. Disunited by divorce, separation, or desertion of one parent, as in children from broken homes. Also, as in a broken family. Brokenly is an adverb. Brokenness is a noun. And that is good for that one. Next we have broken down, 2 words with a hyphen, adjective from 1792. Synonyms are worn out and debilitated, as in a broken down old car. My car is actually very broken down, and I have to clean it out and get it donated or sell it or something. Next is broken field, 2 words with a hyphen, adjective from 1903. Characterized by or making quick changes in direction to avoid widely scattered tacklers, as in a halfback known for broken field running. Also as in a broken field runner. Next is broken-hearted, 1 word, adjective from 1526, overcome by grief or despair. It's very sad. Next is broken-winded, 2 words with a hyphen, adjective from 1580, affected with or as if with heaves, Heaves, as in broken-winded horse, or a broken-winded horse. It's very tired, I'm guessing. And then we have our last word. It is broker, Broker, noun from the 14th century. 1 who acts as an intermediary, as 1A, an agent who arranges marriages. 1B, an agent who negotiates contracts of purchase and sale, as of real estate, commodities, or securities. I'm not so pleased with that 1A1, don't confuse the people, Spencer. That 1A definition, an agent who arranges marriages, I know that it still happens, but I just you shouldn't be arranging marriages. We're way past that. I guess it made sense back in the day, but this people should choose to get married as they wish. Okay. Now we have number 2. Synonym is power broker. Number 3, one who sells or distributes something, as in an information broker. And broker is also a verb. So this says it's from Middle English. It's a Middle English word that means negotiator, from the Anglo-French broker. I'm not exactly sure what this word means exactly. I don't know. I'm blanking on what to say exactly. Why does this word mean this? I don't know. I feel like there's something etymologically that I'm missing. Why are they called brokers? Anyway, so we had brogue, broider, broil, broiler, broiling, broke, broken, broken down, broken field, broken-hearted, broken-winded, and broker. There was one in particular that I liked, and now I have to find... Oh, I think I'm going to pick the second form of brogue, because I was just so fascinated that it went from wrestling hold or tight grip to a speech impediment to an accent, specifically Irish. I thought that was really cool. Cool? Interesting? I say interesting too much. That is going to be the end of the episode, because I have chosen to end it there. Thank you for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. It is the best podcast that I am aware of. This is going to be a fun episode. Lots of fun scientific words and some other good ones. So the first word is brokerage. B-R-O-K-E-R-A-G-E. Noun from the 15th century. 1. The business or establishment of a broker. 2. A broker's fee or commission. Next is brokered. Adjective from 1967. Arranged or controlled by brokers and especially power brokers. As in a... That's not what it says. A brokered political convention. Sorry, I'm just digesting the food that I ate. Next is broking. B-R-O-K-I-N-G. It looks like bro, king, noun from 1569. It is chiefly British. The business of a broker, and brokerage is a synonym. Next we have brolly. B-R-O-L-L-Y. This is a noun from circa 1874. It is also chiefly British, and the synonym is umbrella. They just call them brollies, I guess, in Britain. If you're British, let me know if you call umbrellas brollies. I think that's funny. Not in a bad way. It's a good word. Umbrella is a good word, too. Next, we have a prefix, brom, or I think it's brom or bromo. B-R-O-M, B-R-O-M-O. It is, it just means bromine. This is so confusing if you don't know what these things are. It means bromine, and then the example is bromide, B-R-O-M-I-D-E, which I think is coming up. We've got both of those, bromine and bromide, are coming up in this episode. The etymology says this is from the Greek word bromos, which means bad smell. So I think that should give us a hint as to what bromine and bromide mean, maybe. Now we have bromance. Something that, well, I'll just tell you. It is a noun from 2004. Definitely one of the most recent words in this book. It is a close, non-sexual friendship between men. Bromantic is an adjective. I don't think I've ever heard that word used. Bromantic. But yeah, it's just a blend of bro and romance. Let's see. Next we have bromate. Noun from 1830. You'd think, based on the last one, that this could be something similar to bromance, but it is not. I'm sorry. It is a salt of bromic acid. Next we have bromegrass. B-R-O-M-E-G-R-A-S-S. One word, bromegrass. Noun from circa 1791. Any of a large genus of tall grasses often having drooping spikelets, and it is called also brome or brome, B-R-O-M-E, which was not in the book here. This is from, let's see, it is from Latin bromos, which means oats. Yeah, good. Next we have bromelain or bromelain, B-R-O-M-E-L-A-I-N. Could also just be bromelin with an L-I-N at the end. This is a noun from 1894. A protease obtained especially from the pineapple. Protease, I've heard it used scientifically, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's some sort of chemical or protein or something, and they get it from the pineapple. So this is from bromelain, which is by alternating or an alternative of bromelin. It doesn't help me. The etymology does not help me not at all. Next we have bromeliad. No, that's not how you say it. Bromeliad. B-R-O-M-E-L-I-A-D. Bromeliad. Noun from 1866. Any of the chiefly tropical American, usually epiphytic plants comprising the pineapple family and including Spanish moss and various ornamentals. So this is from New Latin bromelia, which is a genus of tropical American plants. It is from Olaf Bromelius, who was a Swedish botanist who died in 1705. So Olaf here, he maybe discovered them or named them. He was allowed to name them, or somebody named them for him. Actually, yeah, it wasn't until 1866, so they must have named it after he died, well after he died. And I just remembered that I missed the genus name for brome grass is bromus, B-R-O-M-U-S, in case you were curious. All right, next we have bromic acid, 2 words, noun from 1828, an unstable, strongly oxidizing acid, HBrO3, known only in solution or in the form of its salts. That's obvious, right? Next we have bromide with a D. D at the end, you know where the D goes. Noun from 1830. 1. A binary compound of bromine with another element, or a radical, including some, used as sedatives. And an example of some of those are potassium bromide. It says, or a radical including some as potassium bromide, used as sedatives. 2a, a commonplace or tiresome person. Synonym is bore. You call that a bromide? How did that happen? 2b, a commonplace or hackneyed statement or notion. Thank you for that. Next we have bromidic. It is an adjective from 1906, lacking in originality. And then a synonym is trite. Where did this word come from? Did it come from bromide? Did it come from bromine? Okay. Next we have brominate. It is a verb from 1873, to treat or cause to combine with bromine or a compound of bromine. And bromination is a noun. Next is bromine with an N-E at the end. This is a noun from 1827, a non-metallic liquid of disagreeable odor. There's that bad smell. And then it says to see the element table. And I think that is good for that. In the previous one, bromic acid, there was a BR in the chemical series of letters and numbers. I think that BR is bromine. So when you look at the element table, the periodic table, you can find bromine on there. Next we have bromo, B-R-O-M-O. It is a noun from 1923, a dose of a proprietary effervescent headache remedy and antacid. So I wonder if that's made from bromine or if it's something. Oh, yeah, and it says it's from the prefix brom, B-R-O-M, which we read at the beginning, just means bromine. So, yeah, that one must be made from bromine. Next is a fun word to say. It is bromocryptine or bromocryptin. B-R-O-M-O-C-R-Y-P-T-I-N-E. Noun from 1975. A polypeptide ergot. Oh, boy, I should probably read this before I say it. A polypeptide ergot derivative, or is it ergo? I don't know. Ergot derivative C32H40BrN5O5 that mimics the activity of dopamine in inhibiting prolactin secretion. Lots of fun scientific words in there. This is from shortening and alternativing bromoergocryptine, which is from brom plus ergocryptine, which is an ergot derivative from ergo plus the Greek word kryptos, which means hidden, and there's more at the word crypt. That is a great word. Bromocryptine. Or rather, I prefer bromoergocryptine. Next, we have bromouracil. BROMOURACIL. Noun from 1960. A mutagenic uracil derivative, C4H3N2O2BR, that is an analog of thymine, and pairs readily with adenine and sometimes with guanine. I told you there were fun scientific words in this episode. Next, we have I said it before, good. Bromthymol. Bromthymol blue. That's what it is. Bromthymol blue. BROMTHYMOL. That's the first word, and then just the color blue. Bromthymol blue. Noun from 1920. A dye derived from thymol that is an acid-base indicator, and it is called also bromothymol blue. Good thing they shortened that. Next we have bronc, BRONC. This is a noun from 1893, an unbroken or imperfectly broken range horse of western North America, and then broadly the synonym mustang, which is a horse. And finally we have a prefix, bronch, BRONCH, or broncho, and this just means bronchial tube or bronchial. And then we have an example, bronchitis. And this is from the Greek word bronchos, which means windpipe. So we had brokerage, brokered, broking, brolly, brom, or brome, bromance, bromate, bromegrass, bromelain, bromeliad, bromic acid, bromide, bromidic, brominate, bromine, bromo, bromocryptine, bromouracil, bromthymol blue, bronch, and bronch. I think I'm going to pick brolly as the word of the episode because I very much enjoyed that. Thank you for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. Most of this episode is going to have to do with the last word of the last episode, which was bronch as a prefix, and it has to do with the bronchial tube and bronchial things and windpipes and lungs and that stuff. All right, so the first word is another prefix, bronchi, BRONCHI, or bronchio, and this just means bronchial tubes, as in bronchiectasis, which we will be seeing shortly. So this is from, New Latin, bronchia, which is the plural of the branches of the bronchi, and that's good for that. So yeah, this is, it's all lung stuff in your chest. Next is bronchial, adjective from circa 1735, of or relating to the bronchi or their ramifications in the lungs, and bronchially is an adverb. Next is bronchial asthma, 2 words, noun from circa 1881. I have to make sure that my recorder is recording because I didn't have a memory of starting it, but I did. Okay, bronchial asthma is asthma resulting from spasmodic contraction of bronchial muscles. I am so grateful that I don't have asthma. I know some people who have it, or I have known people in my life who have had it, and it just seems like it really sucks. So I'm I apologize to you if you have it. I feel bad for you, and I hope that you are managing that in the best way possible. Next, we have bronchial tube. 2 words, noun from circa 1722. A primary bronchus or any of its branches. And I don't think we've seen it yet, but I think that is that word branches is where this word comes from, because I think the bronchial things, the bronchial tubes, look like a bunch of tree branches, maybe. So that's what that is, the bronchial tubes. Next we have, this was the example from the first one, bronchiectasis. 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 Noun from circa 1860. A chronic dilation of bronchi or bronchioles. And this is from bronchi plus the Greek ektasis, which means extension. And there's more at the word atelectasis. What? Atelectasis. Atelectasis. I must have read that before. You can go back to the A's and find it. Now we have bronchiole, noun from circa 1860. A minute, thin-walled branch of a bronchus. Bronchiolar is an adjective. These words are so fun. Next is bronchiolitis. This is a noun from 1887. Inflammation of the bronchioles. Anytime you have itis at the end of a thing, it's not good. It's a problem. Next we have bronchitis. Similar. Last one was bronchiolitis. This is bronchitis. Noun from 1808. Acute or chronic inflammation of the bronchial tubes. Also a disease marked by this. And bronchitic is an adjective. Next we have bronchodilator. It is a noun from 1903. A drug that relaxes bronchial muscle, resulting in expansion of the bronchial air passages. And bronchodilator is an adjective. And I wonder if that is there to help bronchial asthma. Doesn't say, but I'm guessing it is. Next we have bronchogenic, adjective from 1927, of relating to or arising in or by way of the air passages of the lungs, as in bronchiogenic carcinoma. Next we have bronchopneumonia. This is 1 word, noun from 1858. Pneumonia involving many relatively small areas of lung tissue. Not only are these fun scientific words, but they're also fun problems with the body that we should all learn about so we can learn how to avoid them. Next, we have bronchoscope. I'm going to guess this is the thing that looks into your throat and into your bronchioles. It's a noun from 1899. A usually flexible endoscope for inspecting or passing instruments into the bronchi as to obtain tissue for biopsy. Bronchoscopic is an adjective. Bronchoscopist, bronchoscopist. Ah, yes, that makes more sense. Bronchoscopist. That is a hard word to say. Bronchoscopist. That is a noun. That is the one who is using the bronchoscope, who is performing, here we go, bronchoscopy. That is a noun. Okay, now we have bronchospasm. It is a noun from circa 1901. Constriction of the air passages of the lungs, as in asthma, by spasmodic contraction of the bronchial muscles. Bronchospastic is an adjective. All this talking is making my bronchi hurt. Now we have bronchus. Broncus, noun from circa 1706. Either of the 2 primary divisions of the trachea that lead respectively into the right and the left lung. Broadly, we have the synonym bronchial tube. Let's see. Next, we have broncho. Bronco or CHO. It is a noun from 1850, and we have the synonym bronch, which was at the end of the last episode, which is a horse. But this time they added an O at the end. So this is from Mexican Spanish, and it literally means rough and wild. Next we have Bronco Buster, noun from 1887, one who breaks wild horses to the saddle. Basically, you're semi-taming the wild bronco horse to be able to be ridden by a person. And then lastly, we have Brontosaurus, Brontosaurus. It is a noun from 1892, any of a genus of large sauropod dinosaurs of the Jurassic, and it is called also Apatosaurus. Let's see, the scientific name, there's Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus, and this is from the Greek bronti, which means thunder, and sauros, which means lizard. It is akin to the Greek word bremein, which means to roar. In my mind, I don't imagine a brontosaurus roaring. I'm sure they made sounds, but I guess based on Jurassic Park, I think of a Tyrannosaurus Rex roaring of some kind. I don't know. Yeah, that's a dinosaur that we all used to love when we were kids, and maybe some of us still do. But they're also called apatosauruses. Apatosauri? Apatosaur? Sure. We had bronchi. Oh boy, am I going to have to say all these words? Bronchi, bronchial, bronchial asthma, bronchial tube, bronchiectasis, bronchiole, bronchiolitis, bronchitis, bronchodilator, bronchogenic, bronchopneumonia, bronchoscope, bronchospasm, bronchus, bronchobuster, and brontosaurus. I will pick... I'm going to pick brontosaurus as the word of the episode. That's all I got. Thank you very much for listening. I'm sure you can hear in the background I've got an air conditioner running. I haven't mentioned it because it's been pretty standard through most of my episodes. It's still technically... Well, actually, no, it's not technically summer anymore. It's technically fall, but it often feels like summer, and I just don't want to get hot and sweaty, so I just let the air conditioner run. That's all I got to say. This has been Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, all of you word nerds. Thank you for turning on this podcast and checking it out. The first word is Bronx cheer, capital BRONX. Second word, CHEER. This is a noun from 1924, and we have the number 2 definition for the word raspberry. This is from the borough in New York City called the Bronx. And if you don't know what a raspberry is in this context, it's when you stick your tongue out and go... There you go. Now we have bronze, BRONZE, first form, verb from 1645, and I think it's just transitive. To give the appearance of bronze to, as in a bronzed sculpture. Also, we have the number 2 definition for the word tan, and bronzer is a noun. Now we have the second form of bronze. It is a noun from 1739, 1A, an alloy of copper and tin and sometimes other elements. 1B, any of various copper base alloys with little or no tin. 2, a sculpture or artifact of bronze. 3, a moderate yellowish brown. 4, a bronze medal awarded as the third prize in a competition. Bronzy is an adjective. Next is Bronze Age. 2 words, the B and the A are capitalized. Noun from 1860. The period of ancient human culture characterized by the use of bronze that began between 4000 and 3000 BC and ended with the advent of the Iron Age. So it began between 5 and 6,000 years ago. No comment on that. Some of you can probably figure out where my brain is going on that one. Moving on to Bronze Star. 2 words, capital B, capital S. Noun from 1944. A U.S. military decoration awarded for valor or for meritorious service not involving aerial flights. Called also Bronze Star Medal. Now we have bronzine, noun from 1848, a bronze coloring or discoloration, as of leaves. Next is brooch, brooch. It looks like it should be pronounced brooch, but it's not. Although it does actually look like some people pronounce it brooch or something like that. So I guess that's fine. Noun from the 13th century, an ornament that is held by a pin or clasp and is worn at or near the neck. And let's see, this is from Middle English, brooch, which is a pointed tool, or brooch, and there's more at the word brooch with an OA. My grandma used to wear brooches all the time. I think she even had a cool one. It was of like a spider or something. Did she have? Am I remembering that correctly? I don't know. I think maybe my mom and my sister have some of these brooches still. They were always, decked out with jewels or something. All right. Next we have brood, brood, first form, noun from before the 12th century. 1. The young of an animal or a family of young, especially the young, as of a bird or insect, hatched or cared for at one time. 2. A group having a common nature or origin. 3. The children of a family. This is from Old English brod, akin to the Middle High German brot, which means brood, and perhaps to Old English bjorma, which means yeast. And there's more at the word barm, B-A-R-M. Now we have the second form of brood, adjective from the 15th century, kept for breeding, as in a brood flock. Third form of brood, it is a verb from the 15th century, starting with transitive, 1a, to sit on or incubate. And then an example of what would be incubated is eggs. 1b, to produce by or as if by incubation. Synonym is hatch. At the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, they have had for many, many years, they've had this exhibit of eggs in a, I guess it would be called an incubator or a brooder or something, a very warm area, and you could watch the eggs hatch, and then you could see the little chicks come out of the eggs, and it was fascinating to watch. And now that I think about it, I don't really know what happened to those chickens, and I don't really want to think about that. So moving on to number 2, this is talking about a bird, to cover the young with the wings. And that would, be to keep them warm and safe and stuff. Number 3, to think anxiously or gloomily about. Synonym is ponder. I'm brooding over this thing. Now we have intransitive definitions. 1a, it's talking about a bird. To brood eggs or young. 1b, to sit quietly and thoughtfully. Synonym is meditate. I like to do that. I don't do it as often as I should, but I think more people should do that. And you don't have to, I'm sure I've mentioned this, you don't have to specifically meditate. Just, sitting quietly and thinking, even for 5 minutes. It's very helpful. Number 2, synonyms are hover and loom. 3a, to dwell gloomily on a subject. 3b, to be in a state of depression. Broodingly is an adverb. I wonder how the word brood, in terms of, taking care of your young or being, the young of the family, how that turned into this whole thing about thinking about a subject, especially gloomily or being depressed. How did that happen? Maybe I'll look that up. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Next we have brooder, noun from 1599. 1, one that broods. That would be one who is thinking quietly, thoughtfully, or gloomily about something. Or the one who is brooding the chicks or the young. Number 2, a heated structure used for raising young fowl, like that thing I mentioned at the museum. Next we have broodmare. I think that's how it's pronounced. Brood, and then M-A-R-E. It is one word, noun from 1792. A mare, that's a horse, kept for breeding. Next we have broody, adjective from 1523. 1, being in a state of readiness to brood eggs that is characterized by cessation of laying and by marked changes in behavior and physiology, as in a broody hen. 2. Given or conducive to introspection. Synonyms are contemplative, or you could also say contemplative, or moody. Broodiness is a noun. Next we have brook. First form, noun from before the 12th century, and we have the number 2 definition for the word creek. This is from some languages, specifically Old High German bruo, which means marshy ground. Second form of brook, it is a verb from the 15th century, and it means to stand for. Synonym is tolerate, as in, he would brook no interference with his plans. He would brook no interference with his plans. I mean, the dictionary says it, so it must be true. Never heard this one before. This is from Middle English bruken, which means to use or enjoy. Let's see, from Old English brukan, akin to the Old High German bruhan, which means to use. From Latin frui, F-R-U-I. Not sure how that one got connected, but that one also means to enjoy, so that's how that is connected, I guess. Next we have brookie. Brook with an I-E, noun from 1933, and we have the synonym brook trout. Next is brookite. It is a noun from 1825. Titanium dioxide, TiO2, occurring as a mineral in orthorhombic crystals, commonly translucent brown or opaque brown to black. All right, maybe we should find a picture of this one, brookite. This is from Henry J. Brooke, who was an English mineralogist and died in 1857. Next we have brooklet, noun from 1807, a small brook. And finally, we have Brooklynese, capital B-R-O-O-K-L-Y-N-E-S-E. It's like, I'll just tell you, it's from the borough of New York City called Brooklyn. And this is a noun from 1939, the vernacular speech of greater New York City and environs. You know, like that, just the area of that area. Brooklynese, they talk Brooklynese. Any of you people from Brooklyn, write me an email or a message of some kind in your best Brooklynese. So we had Bronx cheer, bronze, bronze age, bronze star, bronzing, brooch, brood, brooder, broodmare, broody, brook, brookie, brookite, brooklet, and Brooklynese. I am going to pick Bronx cheer as the word of the episode because it's very much fun to do one of those raspberries. This is a podcast, and I am grateful that you are listening to it. Please share it, let other people know about it, subscribe to it, because once we hit 1,000 episodes, you won't be able to get the old ones. And what else? Rate and review. Oh, I actually do have a new review. I think the last time I said that, I was mistaking it for one of my other podcasts, but I do actually have one, and now I am literally scrolling through my email again to find it. Here we go. It is from Carrie Weeder, who you heard recently, and she, it's just called Word to Your Mother, and that's the title of the rating, the review, whatever, and it says, Word Nerds Unite, this is the podcast for you. So if you know any word nerds out there, please go let them know about this. Thank you to Carrie for being a guest. She's also on an exclusive episode, so if you want to become a patron, you can hear some exclusives over there. That's all I got to say. I just appreciate all of you. I hope you're doing well, hanging in there during this time of life that we are all very much enjoying, right? Do what you can to make yourself happy and not doing the opposite to other people. Try and make other people happy too. Do my words make any sense? I don't think so. Do I care? No, I do not. I'm just going to keep on going. That's all I got to say. This has been Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. Yes, it's the dictionary. Get ready to rumble. Oh, that didn't go anywhere. All right, we're at the top of page 158. Our first word, it's two words. It is brook trout, BROOK, TROUT. It is a noun from circa 1825, the common speckled cold water char of North America. And the scientific name is Salvelinus fontinalis. Salvelinus fontinalis. Our next word is broom. It is the first form. I think some people say brum. That's what the phonetic thing says. Although sometimes those vowels get a little confusing. I don't know the exact way to say the U. Broom, broom. I don't know. Noun from before the 12th century. 1. Any of various leguminous shrubs with long, slender branches, small leaves, and usually showy yellow flowers, especially the synonym Scotch broom. I don't think I realized this was an actual plant. There are two genus names. The plural is genera, Cytisus and Genista. And then number 2, a bundle of firm, stiff twigs or fibers bound together on a long handle, especially for sweeping. So I'm guessing the first broom that we used for sweeping was made from branches of this plant called the broom. Let's see. So this is from Old High German bramo, which means bramble. And then we have the second form of broom. It is a transitive verb from 1838. 1. To sweep with or as if with a broom. 2. To finish by means of a broom. And then an example is to finish as a concrete surface by means of a broom. And I would be remiss if I did not mention the They Might Be Giants song. Oh boy, what is it called? I Am Not Your Broom? I think that's what it's called. So maybe I'll put in a clip right now.
I am not your broom. I am not your broom. I've had enough. I'm throwing off my chains of servitude. I am not your broom. I am not your broom. No longer must I sweep for you, for I am not your broom.
Next word is broom ball. One word. Noun from 1933. A variation of ice hockey played on ice without skates. That doesn't seem smart. And with brooms and a soccer ball used instead of sticks with a puck. Broom baller is a noun. So it's like hockey, but you're on ice, you don't got any skates, and instead of a hard puck and hockey sticks, you've got brooms and a soccer ball. I feel like I've heard of this before, but I've never really watched it played. I think there's a lot of slipping. Don't you think there would be a lot of falling over with this? You got to be really, really careful. Maybe the people don't move around very much. Maybe they just smack the ball with the broom to you pass it to your player. All right, next we have broom corn, all one word, noun from circa 1782. Any of several tall cultivated sorghums having stiff branched panicles used in brooms and brushes. I'm curious why corn is in there. Is it related to the corn plant vegetable thing? I don't know. Maybe we can find some more info on that and maybe post a picture. Next is broom rape. It's all one word. Broom rape, noun from 1578. Any of a genus of herbs that have leaves modified to scales and that grow as parasites on the roots of other plants. I know that word rape is difficult. It has such a negative connotation, but it seems in the plant world, it means something else. I feel like I've seen it here and there before. I'm not entirely sure what kind of plant that is, but yeah, it's a plant. So the genus name is Orobanche or Orobanche, which is of the family Orobanchaceae. You guys are used to me screwing these words up. And that is the broom rape family. I'm just so fascinated etymologically where this word came from, or words like that. Next we have broomstick, one word, noun from 1663, the long, thin handle of a broom. Next, we have bros, B-R-O-S. It is the plural of the word bro. Next, we have bros again, but this time there's an E at the end. This is a noun from 1515, a chiefly Scottish dish made with a boiling liquid and meal, M-E-A-L. Like, well, I think meal could just be different things, but it's liquid and stuff. So this is perhaps an alternative of the Scottish word bruis, which means broth, from the Middle English bruise or bruis, which is from Anglo-French bruise, which is the plural of bruet, which means broth or mash, of Germanic origin, akin to the Old High German brod, which means broth. So it just means broth, really. Which is our next word? Broth, B-R-O-T-H. Noun from before the 12th century. 1. Liquid in which meat, fish, cereal grains, or vegetables have been cooked. And a synonym is the word stock, S-T-O-C-K, as in chicken broth. Number 2, a fluid culture medium. This is from, it's from the Old English bruin, which means to brew, and there's more at the word brew. So yeah, that's kind of like you're brewing a liquid from whatever stuff you put. So you put some water in, you put in either, your vegetables or your meats or whatever it is, and you're brewing it. You're getting all of the flavors and all the stuff inside of it into the liquid. So it's, it becomes this broth. Broth, brew, the Scottish bros, whatever you want. Next, we have brothel. This is one of them adult words. Noun from circa 1566. And we have the synonym bordello, which we already read. But this one says this is from Middle English, which means, this is interesting, means I guess brothel is the Middle English word, which means worthless fellow or prostitute, which is from the word brothen, which is, I think, from the verb brethen, which means to waste away or go to ruin. And that is from the Old English breothon, which means to waste away. It is akin to the Old English breoton, which means to break. And there's more at the word brittle. So I had no idea. I was not expecting that to have such a negative meaning in terms of there was already a negative feeling based on the word itself. Worthless fellow, prostitute, wasting away, being ruined. They really just put all of their feelings into that word right away, which I think is kind of interesting. So that's what that means. And obviously, a lot of people have those feelings about bordellos and brothels, and they feel like, it's worthless, you're being wasted away, you're not worth anything. But, some people don't feel that way. So, you got both sides of the coin. Next, we have the word brother. I'm a brother because I have a sister. It is a noun from before the 12th century. 1, a male who has the same parents as another, or one parent in common with another. 2, one related to another by common ties or interests. 3, a fellow member used as a title for ministers in some evangelical denominations. 4, one of a type similar to another. 5a, synonyms, just the one synonym is kinsman. 5b, one who shares with another a common national or racial origin, especially the synonym soul brother. 6a, the B would be capitalized. A member of a congregation of men not in holy orders and usually in hospital or school work. 6b, a member of a men's religious order who is not preparing for or is not ready for holy orders, as in a lay brother. L-A-Y. I'm assuming that word lay is similar to how we say lay person. Somebody who maybe isn't knowledgeable about a subject, maybe isn't a scientist, isn't in government, isn't whatever it is. They're a lay person. Now I'm really curious about the definition of lay in that context. So we'll get there later. Let's see. So brother is from Old English brothor, akin to the Old High German bruder, which means brother, from the Latin word frater, Frater, which is from the Greek frater with a PH, and that means member of the same clan. And so, of course, we get words like fraternity or fraternal twin from that word, frater, and somehow became brother. It's sort of similar, but it took a turn. Okay, next is our last word. It is brotherhood, all one word, noun from the 14th century. 1, the quality or state of being brothers. 2, synonyms are fellowship and alliance. 3, an association as a labor union or monastic society for a particular purpose. So without the parentheses, it says an association for a particular purpose. And number 4, the whole body of persons engaged in a business or profession. Looking at the etymology, let's see, this is from Old English, brothoraden, which is from brothor plus raden, which means condition, and there's more at the word kindred. So we had brook, trout, broom, broomball, broomcorn, broom rape, broomstick, bros, brothel, and brother and brotherhood. I think I want to pick broomball as the word of the episode because that sounds like a very fun sport to watch. Maybe not to play. At least I don't think I would have a good time playing. I think it might be fun. But I think I would injure myself most likely. So that is going to be it for this episode. Thank you very much. I'm trying to talk a little bit less about what's going on in the world because I think we're just all aware that it's how do I say this lightly? It's crazy. The world is crazy. And I have no idea, because I record these so far in advance, I have no idea what's going to be happening at the time that you're listening to this. For instance, I think the second debate will possibly have happened, although given what has happened recently at the time of recording, that may not happen. So who the hell knows, really? Anyway, I'm just going to end this episode. Thank you for listening. This has been Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. I hope you are enjoying this as much as I am. The first word is brother-in-law. 3 words with hyphens. Let's see. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1, the brother of one's spouse. 2, 2A, the husband of one's sister. 2B, the husband of one's spouse's sister. Yeah, there's so many different ways that somebody can be an in-law. And, you could say that I've got a brother-in-law, but the detail, you need a little bit more information on how they are your brother-in-law. Let's see, I have 2 brothers-in-law, or is it brother-in... Actually, it tells me here, the plural is brothers-in-law. I have 2, and I have an ex-brother-in-law, and I think that's all I got. Okay, next is brotherly. Adjective from before the 12th century. 1, of or relating to brothers. 2, natural or becoming to brothers. And we have the synonym affectionate, as in brotherly love. Next, brotherliness is a noun and brotherly is an adverb. Yes, I read that. So now we have the word, there's a couple ways to say it. Bruin or broem, I think that's what it's saying. It is spelled, weirdly to me, Brougham. Broem. This is a noun from 1851. A light closed horse-drawn carriage with the driver outside in front. No clue that was called a brougham. This is from Henry Peter Brougham. I'm just going to pronounce it that way. Who was a, what is this saying? Baron Brougham and Vaux, V-A-U-X. Not exactly sure. Maybe that was his title. He was a Scottish jurist who died in 1868. So maybe he was the one who invented this type of carriage, or he named it. I don't know. Maybe he was the first driver of one of these. Next, we have the word brought, B-R-O-U-G-H-T. It is the past form of the word bring. Next is brouhaha, and it looks like you can emphasize the brew first. You can emphasize the second ha first, brouhaha. Or you can emphasize the first ha, brouhaha. Kind of like that one. This is a noun from 1890. We have the synonyms hubbub and uproar. That's all it says. So if you don't know what those mean, then you don't know what brouhaha means. Next we have brow, B-R-O-W, first form, noun from before the 12th century. 1A, synonym is eyebrow. 1B, synonym is forehead. 2, the projecting upper part or margin of a steep place. 3, synonyms are expression and mean, M-I-E-N. I guess it could be pronounced mien, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm just going to say it's pronounced mean. This is from, Old English brew, akin to the Old Norse bruin, which means eyebrow, from Greek ophris, and from Sanskrit bru, B-H-R-U. Now we have the second form of brow. It is a noun from 1867. Synonym is gangplank. Gangplank. So this is perhaps from the Danish or Swedish words bro, B-R-O, which means bridge, and it is akin to the Old English, I don't know how to pronounce this one, B-R-Y-C-G, brick or brig, and that means bridge. I think gangplank, that's the thing you see on pirate ships and movies and cartoons. So it's kind of like a bridge. But they call it a brow. Next is browalia. B-R-O-W-A-L-L-I-A. Browalia. Noun from 1782. Any of a genus of tropical American herbs of the nightshade family cultivated for their blue, violet, or white flowers. This is from J. Browalius, who was a Swedish naturalist, and he or she died in 1755. Probably they found it. Let's see. Oh, actually, well, yeah, they probably found it, but then it didn't get named after them until like 30 years later. Next, we have browbeat, one word, verb, transitive verb from 1581, to intimidate or disconcert by a stern manner or arrogant speech. Synonym is bully. And then it says another synonym is the word intimidate. Browbeat. Next is browed. Brow with an ED, adjective from the 15th century, having brows of a specified nature. And it is used in combination, as in smooth-browed. Next is the word brown. And this is going to be the beginning of many, many words that start with the word brown. Okay, this is the first form, adjective from before the 12th century, of the color brown, especially of dark or tanned complexion. This is from Middle English, brown with a U instead of a W. From Old English, brun, akin to the Old High German brun, which means brown. From the Greek word, well, this is interesting. I think it's saying phryne, P-H-R-Y-N-E, which means toad. So toads, I guess, are kind of brown, but phryne, I don't know how they pronounce it, so I don't know if it's pronounced similarly to brown, although I can't imagine it is. But it's just so weird that it went from toad, which is the word phryne, to brown. Anyway, second form of brown is a noun from the 13th century. 1, any of a group of colors between red and yellow in hue, of medium to low lightness, and of moderate to low saturation. Number 2, a brown-skinned person. Saying like a brown, that doesn't seem very nice to say, so don't do that. Number 3, the synonym is brown trout. Brownish is an adjective, and brownie is also an adjective, but it's not the kind that you eat. You're just saying, that color there, it's kind of browny. Now we have the third form of brown. It is a verb from the 14th century. Intransitive definition says to become brown. And then the transitive definition says to make brown. To become brown and to make brown. Next we have brown alga, A-L-G-A, 2 words, noun from circa 1899. Any of a division of variable, mostly marine algae with chlorophyll masked by brown pigment. And the, I guess the division name is Phyophyta or Phyophyta with PHs instead of Fs. Next is brown bagging, 2 words, noun from 1959. 1. The practice of carrying, as to work, one's lunch usually in a brown paper bag. I guess it wasn't until 1959 that they started to do that. I feel like they would have brought their lunch to work before that, but maybe not. I mean, I wasn't around back then, so I don't know. Let's see. Then we have number 2, the practice of carrying a bottle of liquor into a restaurant or club where setups are available. Setups. I don't know what kind of setups we're talking about. But yeah, the bottle of liquor is probably in a brown bag, so you're brown bagging. Next, so we have the word brown bag, 2 words with a hyphen. That is a verb or an adjective. And then brown bagger is a noun. The one who is doing the brown bagging, who is bringing their lunch or bringing liquor. Next is brown bear, 2 words, noun from 1774. Any of several bears predominantly brown in color that are usually considered a single species, including the grizzly bear, and that formerly inhabited western North America from the barrens of Alaska to northern Mexico and much of Europe and Asia, but are now much restricted in range. The scientific name for this species is Ursus arctos. And there's a picture of a brown bear. I don't really know how to describe it other than that. It looks like a bear. It's standing up, by the way, and its arms are mostly down by its side. It looks like a bear. Next is brown Betty, 2 words. The second word is with a capital B. Noun from 1864. A baked pudding of apples, breadcrumbs, and spices. And I would like one of these right now, please. Next is brown bread, 2 words. Noun from the 14th century. 1. Bread made of whole wheat flour. So, yeah, if it's whole wheat bread is often darker, so it's more brown than white bread. And it's healthier for you. 2. A dark brown steamed bread made usually of cornmeal, white or whole wheat flours, molasses, soda, and milk or water. And lastly, we have brown coal, 2 words, noun from 1821, and we just have the synonym lignite, Lignite. So we had brother-in-law, brotherly, bruem, brought, brouhaha, brow, browalia. That was a herb from the nightshade family. Browbeat, browed, brown, brown alga, brown bagging, brown bear, brown Betty, brown bread, brown coal. I am going to pick brouhaha, Brouhaha. That will be the word of the episode because I say so, and it's a fun word. And this podcast is full of unnecessary brouhaha. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. Thank you for joining me. Every single word in this episode will start with the word brown in some way. First, we have brown dwarf. 2 words. Noun from 1978. A celestial object that is much smaller than a normal star and has insufficient mass to sustain nuclear fusion, but that is hot enough to radiate energy, especially in infrared wavelengths. I'm not 100% sure, but I kind of want to say that Jupiter is considered a brown dwarf because it didn't there's no fusion, there's no nuclear fusion happening. It didn't become a star like our sun. But it is very large. Yeah, I think so. Next is brown earth. 2 words, noun from 1932. Any of a group of intrazonal soils developed in temperate, humid regions under deciduous forests and characterized by a dark brown mull horizon that grades through lighter colored soil. That was a lot of information. I saw the word deciduous, and at first my brain thought it said delicious. Under delicious forests. So it's about soil, which makes sense. Next, we have brown-eyed Susan. Brown-eyed is hyphenated, and then the name Susan. Noun from 1896. A dark-centered cone flower of eastern North America, often having tripartite lower leaves. Tripartite. There must be like 3 parts to those leaves. The scientific name is Rudbeckia triloba. Yeah, there it is again. Triloba. Probably 3 lobes in the leaves. This is from brown-eyed plus the name Susan. As in black-eyed Susan. So is there a black... Did we read that? Let's look back. Was there a black-eyed Susan? I have no memory because I've read so many of these words. Let's see. Yes, black-eyed Susan. It is a flower with deep yellow or orange rays and dark conical discs. I don't know if I posted a picture of that one, but I will try and post a picture of this brown-eyed Susan. So it's brown instead of black. Next is brown fat. 2 words, noun from 1951. A mammalian heat-producing tissue occurring especially in human fetuses and newborn infants and in hibernating animals. And it is called also brown adipose tissue. So it's some sort of tissue that some mammals create, specifically newborns, that allows them to stay warm, I guess. Maybe that's probably why babies have so much baby fat, because they have this special kind of fat that keeps them warm. They don't want to get cold because that's going to be a problem. Brown fat. Why is it called brown though? Is it like if you were to actually look at it, is it darker than regular fat? I think fat normally has sort of like a yellowish tinge, so maybe this is literally darker. Interesting. Next is brownfield. 1 word, noun from 1977. A tract of land that has been developed for industrial purposes, polluted, and then abandoned. And we don't like that. I don't. I say we as in me. Next is brown-headed cowbird. Wow, there's a lot going on there. Brown-headed is 2 words with a hyphen. Cowbird is 1 word. It's like the moo cow and the tweet bird. Noun from 1972, and we just have the synonym cowbird. So we'll learn more about that one in the C's. There must be other kinds of cowbirds. Next, we have Brownian motion. 2 words. The first word has a capital B. It is a noun from 1871. A random movement of microscopic particles suspended in liquids or gases resulting from the impact of molecules of the surrounding medium, called also Brownian movement. This is from Robert Brown, who was a Scottish botanist. Interesting that he's a botanist, but this is all about liquids and gases and stuff. And he died in 1858. I've heard of Brownian motion. I feel like I understand it better than what this definition is saying, but it has to do with particles in liquids and gases and how they move around. Next is brownie. I think I mentioned this one in the last episode, but I was saying it's not this one. This one is spelled with an IE at the end. It is a noun from circa 1500. 1. A legendary, good-natured elf that performs helpful services at night. Yeah, you don't hear about this version of this word too often, but yeah, sometimes you might hear elves or elf-like creatures called brownies. Number 2 is with a capital B, A member of a program of the Girl Scouts for girls in the 1st through 3rd grades in school. Number 3, a small square or rectangle of rich, usually chocolate cake, often containing nuts. So what, all you bakers out there, what is the difference between a brownie and a cake? I mean, I know consistency, they're very different, but what makes them different? I could probably go look this up for myself, but that's no fun. Why is a brownie and why is a cake a cake? I mean, it says right here it's a chocolate cake, but they're clearly very different. Also, small square or rectangle, please give me a large square or rectangle of brownie. Thank you very much. Next is brownie point. 2 words. Noun, often with a capital B, from circa 1962. A credit regarded as earned especially by currying favor, as with a superior. So if you do something good with somebody or often with a superior, you're getting brownie points. I wonder where this one came from. Oh, it's probably from somebody bringing somebody brownies, and that's what happened. I'm just guessing. Next is Browning automatic rifle with a capital B. 3 words. Noun from 1920. A .30 caliber gas-operated, air-cooled, magazine-fed automatic rifle, often provided with a rest for the barrel. So a thing for the barrel to rest on. Lots of adjectives in that one. By the way, for those who don't know, .30 caliber is written out as .30. This, I think that, is that millimeters? Is it, so is it 0.3 of a meter? I should know this. I do know it somewhere in my brain. So I think the 30 is millimeters maybe. So it's 30 millimeters wide. I think. Okay. This is from John M. Browning, who was an American designer of firearms, and he died in 1926. Next is related, probably from the same guy. This is Browning machine gun. So the last one was automatic rifle. This one is a machine gun, noun from 1918. A 30 or 50 caliber recoil-operated air or water-cooled machine gun fed by a cartridge belt. Next we have brown lung, 2 words, noun from 1969. And we have the synonym byssinosis or byssinosis or byssinosis. No, that doesn't sound right. B-Y-S-S-I-N-O-S-I-S. Byssinosis. Something with the lungs. Next is brown nose, 1 word of transitive verb from circa 1939, to ingratiate oneself with, and are also curry favor with. Brown nose is a noun, and brown noser is also a noun. That is the one who is doing the brown nosing. So the etymology says this is from the implication that servility is equivalent to having one's nose in the anus of the person from whom advancement is sought. I don't think that I realized that it literally has to do with, I mean, not that people are literally doing this, but the brown literally is coming from the anus. So you're trying to get favor with somebody, so you're like, oh, you're so important. I'm gonna stick my nose in your butt. That's what it's saying. You are worth so much, and I am worth so little that my nose should be in your butt. Wow, there's so much going on there. Okay. We are going to move on to brown out. 1 word, noun from 1942. A period of reduced voltage of electricity caused especially by high demand and resulting in reduced illumination. So it's related to blackout, but it sounds like a blackout is when everything goes completely black. The power is completely out. But a brownout is just when maybe it goes out briefly or it just goes out part of the way. So instead of all the way black, it's just brown. Maybe not literally, though. Next is brown pelican. 2 words, noun from 1823. A pelican of American coasts that has a brownish body and a chiefly white or white with yellow head. And the scientific name is Pelicanus occidentalis. Next is brown rat. I think most of them are brownish. This is 2 words, noun from 1781, a common domestic rat that has been introduced worldwide, called also Norway rat. So maybe that's where they came from. And the scientific name is similar to Norway rat, except it's backwards. It is Rattus norvegicus. And norvegicus, if the V was switched to a W, it would be sort of similar to Norway. So that I think that's where it came from. And then our last word for this episode is brown recluse spider. 3 words, noun from 1964. A venomous spider, especially of the southern and central U.S., that has a violin-shaped mark on the cephalothorax and produces a dangerous cytotoxin which can cause necrotic lesions. So that means that where it bites you, there's going to be a problem there, a lesion, and the skin and the tissue in that area is going to die. That's what necrotic means. The scientific name is Loxosceles reclusa. And the recluse part, they probably just like to hide a lot, which I think most spiders do, don't they? But watch out for that violin-shaped mark on the cephalothorax. That's, the main body part, I think. And so that was the last one. So we had brown dwarf, brown earth, brown-eyed Susan, brown fat, brown field, brown-headed cowbird, brownie in motion, brownie, brownie point, browning automatic rifle, browning machine gun, brown lung, brown nose, brown out, brown pelican, brown rat, brown recluse, spider. Well, there's a couple of these that I really liked. Specifically, brown dwarf, brown fat. I thought those were interesting. I like the scientific cosmos stuff, so that's why I like brown dwarf. But I got to keep with my normal standards, and I think I might just have to pick brownie as the word of the episode because brownies are awesome, right? For me, they are. Not for everybody. That is going to be the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer dispensing information. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the dictionary. We are at the last section of page 158. So, we're going to finish up the brown words about halfway through this episode. First one is brown rice. 2 words. There's a little burp. I just drank some water. Let's see what happens. We're just going to move on. We're going to push through. This is a noun from 1916. Hulled but unpolished rice that retains most of the bran layers, endosperm, and germ. Germ is not like bad germs, although there's good germs. So it seems, based on, brown rice and brown bread, things that tend to be brown, at least in food. Boy, I'm going to probably get a lot of crap for this, but in general, I think you could probably say that they tend to be a little bit healthier than the white versions. I'm 99% sure brown rice is healthier than white rice. Brown bread, specifically whole wheat bread, is healthier than white bread. When it's white, they've gotten rid of all the good healthy stuff. Specifically here, it says it's unpolished. It retains most of the bran layers, the endosperm, the germ. I think that's all the good stuff. So yeah, if you can, choose brown rice over white rice. Next is brown rot. 2 words, noun from 1863. A disease that stone fruits, as peaches, caused by a fungus that... Oh, a disease of... I don't know what I just said, but it is a disease of stone fruits caused by a fungus. And the genus name is Monolinea, especially the scientific name Monolinea fructicola. So, yeah, watch out for brown rot. Next is brown sauce, noun from 1723. A sauce consisting typically of stock thickened with flour browned in fat. I know in England they have HP sauce. You can now finally find it in the States, I think, here and there. But I think they call that a brown sauce. It's not ketchup. It's not barbecue sauce. It's something different. It's super tasty. And but I don't know if that's this kind of brown sauce or a different kind, but it's probably this kind. And I'm sure there's other, obviously, brands. HP is just the big one. Like here in the States, it's Heinz, that sort of thing. Okay, next is brown shirt. One word, noun, from 1932. We have a couple synonyms. First one is Nazi. So I guess Nazis are called brown shirts, probably because they wore brown shirts. And then especially the synonym stormtrooper. I don't think that they're talking about the stormtroopers in Star Wars. That's probably where Star Wars got the name stormtrooper from, though. I should know more about history. Next is brownstone. One word, noun, from 1846. 1. A reddish-brown sandstone used for building. Number 2. A dwelling faced with brownstone. I hear about these a lot in New York. I guess that's a lot of buildings called brownstones because they have that reddish-brown sandstone. Next is brown study. 2 words, noun, from 1532. A state of serious absorption or abstraction. A state of serious absorption or abstraction. So that must be, I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. This does not make sense in my brain. When it says serious absorption, I'm thinking of like a sponge. Maybe when a sponge is able to absorb a lot, they call it's a brown study, but the word study is throwing me off. Also, the word abstraction is throwing me off. If you know anything about this, let me know. Next is brown sugar. 2 words, noun, from 1697. Soft sugar whose crystals are covered by a film with refined dark syrup. I've always sort of wondered what makes brown sugar brown sugar. What's the difference, and why is it so darn good? Soft sugar whose crystals are covered by a film of refined dark syrup. So it sounds like this is not a natural form of sugar. They had to actually add something to it, which I guess I'm not a really big fan of, but I do sure love me some brown sugar. Next is brown Swiss. 2 words, capital B, capital S. Noun, from 1902. Any of a breed of large, hardy, brown dairy cattle originating in Switzerland. It's a brown cow, and it's from Switzerland, so it's a brown Swiss. Next is brown tail moth. Brown tail is hyphenated, and then moth. Noun, from 1782. A European tussock moth, that's T-U-S-S-O-C-K, tussock moth, introduced in the U.S. and having larvae which feed on foliage and have hairs irritating to the skin. So if you touch it, it's going to irritate you. Maybe you'll literally get hives or something. I don't know. And the scientific name is Euporictis chrysoria. Next we have brown tree snake. 3 words, noun, from 1947. A large, venomous, arboreal colubrid snake of northern Australia, New Guinea, and the Solomon Islands that has been accidentally introduced into other areas as Guam. So when they describe all of these different plants and animals that have all these adjectives, in this case, venomous, arboreal, colubrid, or colubrid, it helps to be able to figure out what this thing is if you actually know what those mean. So, obviously I recommend waiting until the end of the dictionary, this podcast, to go to learn about those ones. Colubrid, we're going to learn. Arboreal, we probably read in the A's. If you don't know what venomous is, you can wait until the V's. I guess there's maybe other ways that you could look up these words to find out what they mean, but I obviously I would recommend that you just listen to them in this podcast. So, but yeah, if you don't know what those words mean, you're not going to really understand what this means. But I could tell you, because I'm not entirely sure what colubrid is, although I have heard of it. Arboreal means that it's in trees. And the scientific name for this is Boiga or Boiga irregularis. That's interesting that it's irregularis. And let's see. So that is the brown tree steak. We are moving on to brown trout. 2 words. And I think this is the last brown word. Noun from 1862. A speckled European trout widely introduced as a game fish. And the scientific name is Salmo truta. Next is brow ridge. 1 word, noun from 1887. A prominence of the frontal bone above the eye caused by the projection of the frontal air sinuses. Next we have browse. First form, verb from the 15th century, starting with transitive. 1a, to consume as browse. Not entirely sure what that means, but I think we're going to learn. 1b, synonym is graze. 2, to look over casually. Synonym is skim. 3, to access a network by means of a browser. And that would be, I think, Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Opera was one. I don't know if that's still around, but I think it probably is. You probably know of some other ones. By the time you listen to this, maybe those are all going to be gone and we'll have different browsers, or we'll have a whole new system. Then there are no browsers anymore. Now we have the intransitive verbs. 1a, to feed on or as if on, browse. Yes, I think we're going to learn what browse is in the next form because that's a noun. 1b, synonym again is graze. So graze is a synonym for both the transitive and intransitive definitions. 2a, to skim through a book reading passages that catch the eye. So that's similar to the one in transitive. And 2b, to look over or through an aggregate of things casually, especially in search of something of interest. Browsable is an adjective. Okay, next form, second form of browse is a noun. And this is a noun from 1523. 1, tender shoots, twigs, and leaves of trees and shrubs used by animals for food. I've never heard of this. They call those things browse. So you can graze on browse. And then number 2, an act or instance of browsing. So let's see. This is probably from Anglo-French braut, which means sprout, of Germanic origin, akin to the OS. Is that like Old Swedish, Old Saxon? Maybe one day I'll remember that. Okay, now I have to find my place. Akin to the Old Saxon brustian or brustian, which means to sprout, and perhaps to the Old English briost, which means breast, and there's more at the word breast. Next is browser, noun from 1845. Anytime I see that word, I think of Mario's villain Bowser, but that's a little bit different. Number 1, one that browses. 2, a computer program used for accessing sites or information on a network, as the World Wide Web. Next, we have Brucella, Brucella, noun from 1930. Any of a genus, Brucella, of non-motile pleomorphic bacteria that cause disease in humans and domestic animals. And this is from Sir David Bruce. That's why it's called Brucella. Next we have a similar word, brucellosis, noun from 1930. Infection with or disease caused by brucelli, and brucelli is the plural of brucella. Next we have brucine, Brucine, noun from 1823. A poisonous alkaloid, C23H26N2O4, found with strychnine, especially in Nux vomica. What is Nux vomica? I do not know. Nux, next word, Vomica. Let's see, this is probably from the French or the New Latin Brucea or Brucea, which is the genus name of Brucea antidysenterica, which is a shrub. And our last word for this episode is not the last word on this page, which we are going to move into the next episode, but this one is bruin, B-R-U-I-N, noun from the 15th century, and we have the number one definition for the word bear, B-E-A-R. This is Middle Dutch. It is the name of the bear in Reynard the Fox, which is probably a book or a poem or something from way back in the day. Reynard the Fox. Who is it? Is it the Milwaukee Bruins? I think so. Maybe some sports team has decided to use this as their mascot. So our words were brown rice, brown rot, brown sauce, brown shirt, brown stone, brown study, brown sugar, brown Swiss, brown tail moth, brown tree snake, brown trout, brow ridge, browse, browser, brucella, brucellosis, brucine, and bruin. Well, I'm going to stick with the pattern from yesterday's episode, and I'm going to say brown sugar will be the word of the episode, although I was very fascinated by brown study. I will firmly admit that when I was a kid, and maybe even when I was an adult, I would just take a spoonful of brown sugar, and I would just eat it, and it was awesome. But if you're a child and you want to do that, you should very much first ask your parents. So I'm going to end this episode there. Thank you very much for listening. As I often say, please rate this, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. But if you're listening on something else, please rate it, review it, tell me what you think. Subscribe, share it, tell the other people that you know about this podcast. If you want to get episodes early, if you want to get a few exclusive episodes, you can become a patron. All of that information is in the episode description. And now I am going to stop talking for the rest of the day because I have talked a lot today already, and I'm done with it. Thank you. This has been But what's my name? Spencer Dispensing Information. Goodbye.